Hello there. In this video we're going to show you how you can make your own personalised pendant. In this example it's going to have the characters YSL and we're going to use a 3D brush script font. The principles that you'll learn in this lesson can be applied to any font and obviously any letters. Okay, so first of all, if we start up Fluid Designer, now I've set the opening screen to the brush script font, but if that's not available we can always select it here. So alphabet and brush script font pattern is what we're going to use. Now we do have A to Z in lowercase and A to Z in capitals as well. We're just going to use the lowercase characters, and we're going to do a pendant with YSL. So the first thing to do is to drag and drop the Y onto the workspace, and I'm just going to switch on the screencast keys, so down here any key presses I make should be displayed for you. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to scroll the center mouse button towards me just to make the Y a little bit smaller. And if I point at the green arrow at the top there, I'm just going to move it slightly away from the center. Now notice it's jumping up in 1mm increments, and the reason for that is because this feature here called snap is automatically switched on for you, and that's quite a useful feature, the snap. So we've got a Y. Now over here in this panel here, in the browser panel, we can see that we've got the other letters that we want, an S and an L. Now we don't want to drag the S or the L onto the workspace. That will simply replace the Y. So what we need to do is to use a command called append. Append means to add an object that's been created previously to the current document. So if I go to File and go to Append, and you'll see that we're all automatically in the brush script font folder, alphabet brush script font. If we're not in that folder, we can always scroll through the menu system and find it, but you should be automatically in the same folder. So it's alphabet brush script font. Now we've got a Y, we need an S now, and we want a lowercase s, not the capital. So brush script font S. And what we need to do is we need to look for the object. Now we can ignore all of these ones here. These are just the cross sections of the object. We want brush script font S. So this is the object that we're going to append from the library, and as you can see, that brings in an S. Now I'm just scrolling the center mouse button again to zoom in and out, and I'm just going to drag it down slightly. Now we do need some overlap between the two characters, otherwise it won't be one complete object. So I've just moved it down in this instance by one space. You might have to do more than one space depending upon the position that you've put the Y. So there's the Y and the S. Now we need to append again the letter L, and we can see the letter L over here. But as I've already said, if you drag and drop this onto the workspace, these two letters will disappear and you'll just have an L. But if we go to File and Append, now in this case we're actually in brush script font S, so we do need to go up through the menu system here, back to the brush script alphabet folder, and we're looking for letter L now, and again we want lowercase l, and we want the object. So it's brush script font L, and we're going to append that object from the library into the current document. And I'm just going to click on the green arrow and just drag the L down, and you can position it wherever you want. You can have however much overlap you want. I'm just going to leave it there. Okay, so we've got a Y object, we've got an S object, and we've got an L object. If we just look over here in the outliner window, these cross sections here are in fact all hidden at the moment. They're restricted view, but if I scroll down to the bottom, I'm just scrolling the center mouse button, you can see here's the brush script L, object, here's the brush script S object, and here's the brush script Y object. So those are the three objects, and I could click on here and make it temporarily disappear. It's still actually, the object is still in my file at the moment. I'm just restricting the view by clicking on these little eyes in the outliner window. Now what I want to do now is I want to join those all together, and the way that we join them together is, first of all, with the Y selected, we need to hold down the Shift key on the keyboard and press S, click on the S, sorry, and then click on the L. So all three objects are highlighted now, and you can see all three objects are highlighted over here in the outliner window. And then we just go to Tools, Object Tools, and join the three together. Now when we join the three together, notice over here we've only got one object now, and it although it says brush script front L, if we just drag the YSL up, you can see the whole thing is actually joined together now. So we've only got one object listed over here. Now what about the thickness of our pendant? Well, if I just hold down the center mouse button, the scroll button, and if I just move the mouse slightly, just rocking it, all I'm doing is just rocking it very gently, holding the center mouse button, you can see what thickness we've got applied to this current object, this pendant, YSL pendant. And over here in this panel we can see what the shape of this is. The cross section is 1 millimeter, and I'll just open this window up a bit. It's 1 millimeter by 2 millimeters. So if I just zoom in, what that means is that this thickness here is 1 millimeter, this thickness is 2 millimeters. Now if I want to change that to a different thickness, I can just click over here, and I could change it to 1 millimeter by 3 millimeters. So that just makes it thicker here, 3 millimeters thick now. Or 1 millimeter by 4 millimeters. So I can change the thickness of my object. Now that will obviously affect the price. So you do need to consider the more metal that you have printed, the more expensive it's going to be. So I'm just going to switch it back to 1 by 2. So there's my YSL. Now what I do need now though is a connector at the top. Now I'm just going to go to View and view it from the top again. So we're just looking directly down on it. So we want to add a little ring on the top where we can put our chain through. Now if I just go over here where it says Patterns, Alphabet Brush Script Font, if I just go to 3D Templates, the one at the top, the connectors, and again I'm just scrolling the center mouse button, it's one of these objects here, these wire connectors, that I'm going to use, and I'm going to use the one with a 3 millimeter hole. So I'm actually going to use this object. Now again, if I drag this onto the workspace, my YSL will disappear. So I need to use Append. So I need to go to 3D Templates Connectors, and I'm going to append this wire connector with the 3 millimeter diameter hole. So I go to File and Append. We just need to go out of, at the moment we're in brush script front L, we just need to come out of that. So once, twice. So we're in the brush script folder now. I still need to go up. So here are all the folders that are on the system at the moment, and what I'm going to do is select 3D Templates Connectors, and I'm going to use a wire connector with a 3 millimeter diameter hole. And what I want to do is I want to append the object. So it's the wire connector with a 3 millimeter diameter hole is what I select, and I just append that from the library. So I just add it to my current workspace. Just move that panel back a little bit. Now you do need to make sure that you've got the wire connector highlighted. It looks like it's highlighted at the moment, but it isn't. So I'm just going to click on it over here in the outliner window just to confirm it's selected, and you see it turns to yellow when I do that. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move it up. Now at the moment it's kind of pointing in the wrong direction. So what I want to do, I'm just scrolling the center mouse button there to zoom in. I want to rotate this so that the top bit points downwards. and we can do rotation in Fluid Designer in a number of different ways. One simple way is to press R on the keyboard, and if I just move the mouse, you'll see that will actually rotate it, and then I could click with the mouse, and up in the top of the window here, whoops, can't quite get it, up in the top of the window there, you'll see what the rotation is, and I do actually want a rotation of 180 degrees to get it absolutely right. So let me just position it so it says rotation 180 now, and I click the left mouse button. So that's one way of rotating it. Now I do need to position it now more accurately, so I'm going to position it like that. Now at the moment this is a little bit too long. I'm just zooming in again. It's a little bit too long, this, so what I need to do is to trim it down a little bit, and I can do that by pressing the Tab key on the keyboard. So when I press the Tab key on the keyboard, I go into edit mode, and if I just highlight that point at the bottom there, I could drag it upwards, but better than dragging it is to delete it, and we can delete in Fluid Designer by pressing the X key on the keyboard and deleting that vertices. And I'm going to delete this one as well, I think. X and then delete it. Now it's now a little bit too short, so what I can do is I can just drag that down until it's just in the middle of my object there. And so I'm just zooming out there by scrolling the center mouse button. And if I just hold down the center mouse button and just rock it, you can see what position that connector is in now. So it's very important that it does actually go completely into the object. Now once you're happy with the position of it and the length of it, you can press the Tab key to come out of edit mode. And what we want to do now is to join this connector to the YSL. Now depending upon which object you select first will affect the final shape. I want the final shape to be 1 millimeter by 2 millimeters. This cross section here, 1 millimeter by 2 millimeters. I don't want it to be rounded 1 millimeter, which is the shape of the connector. So it's very important that you select the connector first, then you hold down the Shift key and connect the YSL last. Whichever object you select last, those properties, those thicknesses will be maintained. So this shape will be the same as this last object, the YSL object that I've selected, when I join them. And to join them, you just go to Tools, Object Tools, and join them. And you can see as I did that, the shape of the connector has changed now to match the shape of the YSL. So that's all you need to do to create a very simple pendant, a personalized pendant with the characters YSL. And what we would normally do now is to save this to the desktop. We don't ever in Fluid Designer go to File and Save. We always go to File and Export, and the printed file format that we would normally use is a wavefront object. So if we go to File, Export, Wavefront Object, and I always like to save things to the desktop. So if we go to the desktop, and what we can then do is give this a name. Now it says brush script from Y at the moment. I want to change that to YSL because that's the whole thing, and I could actually type the word pendant as well. So we're going to save the brush script font YSL as a pendant, and you press the Enter key, and then you export that object to the desktop, and that's the object that will be printed. That will take a little bit of time because of the processing of the computer. What it's actually doing is to change this whole object into a mesh and making it not quite ready for the printer yet, but more or less. So there's our YSL pendant with a cross section of 1 millimeter by 2 millimeters. Once you finish that, just go to File and New. Don't go to File and Save, just File and New, and reload the startup file to take you back there. So that's it, that's the finished pendant, and that's what the object would look like if it was created in silver. Okay, so there's our personalised YSL pendant. Thank you.